Nairobi, and he is at this moment at the CID headquarters right here in the city. Now, just to tell us more on what is happening there as far as that developing story is concerned, we're now joined live by our reporter Wakesho, who has been pitching camp there since morning. Wakesho, good morning, and what more can you tell us?
Good morning, Yusuf Ibrahim. Indeed, we are here at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters along Kiambu Road, where we're informed that at around 6 a.m., Bishop Gilbert Deya indeed was brought here. That is just after arriving at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport from UK, and he has recorded statement for around an hour or so, and he has so far left. He's headed to the courts. Remember, there has been facing criminal charges of rape. We've also had child trafficking as well as sexual assaults, and he tried to appeal the case at a London court, but the appeal has since been thrown away. Yusuf.
Well, Wakesho, perhaps have you managed to speak to some of the security officers there, and what exactly are they trying to get from him?
Well, thank you, Yusuf. We spoke to one officer immediately we arrived here. He's called Rono, but he didn't want to share information as much because he's not authorized to speak to the media. But what he says is indeed there was here accompanied by security officers, and he indeed recorded statement just before heading to, he says he believes he's headed to the courts.
Many thanks, Wakesho. Of course, we're going to link up with you once that interrogation of Deya completes. And at the Milimani Law Courts on standby is Timothy Otieno. I believe there is a case that has been filed against this controversial preacher who is on record having, promised people miracle babies. It's something that has been hitting headlines for a very long time. Now, Timothy, what can you tell us from the courts?
Well, Yusuf, it is evident that Bishop Gilbert Deya has been evading this day for almost a decade now and is set shortly to appear before the criminal court here at the High Court at Milimani to face charges of child abduction. Now, those charges are very, according to the lawyers who were speaking to earlier, are very serious and could even attract a penalty of life imprisonment or a 1 million shilling bond, depending on what the magistrate may decide to rule on that matter. But Gilbert Deya is not a man that is strange to the courts. It's not the first time he's facing such charges or otherwise. In 2014, he was acquitted of alleged sexual assault as well as battery, charges that he opposed and vehemently denied at a London court in 2014. He was acquitted of those. But in this particular case of child abduction, he is accused of stealing or abducting children from the time period of May 1999 to August 2004, and he is alleged to have colluded with his wife, Mary Deya, and Mary Deya actually served prison time for the said charges. She was arrested, arraigned in court, and sentenced to 3 years in prison back in 2014. Now, the 2014 sentence of Mary Deya is following a case that had been lodged against her, that she had stolen a baby at the Kenyatta National Hospital in 2005. She has since served her 3-year sentence. We have been made aware that she was released last year and she's currently a free woman. But her husband will have to be facing similar charges, perhaps even graver charges. He has been fighting off these allegations, insisting that, first of all, the human rights conditions in Kenya could not be favorable to him, and he says that Kenyan prisons and Kenya's criminal system will not do its work well. But he lost that argument 3 weeks ago when a London court ordered for his deportation and his subsequent extradition into the country. So this morning he's going going to be facing some of those charges. His most likely defense will be that, first of all, he's a miracle preacher. He does do miracles in regards to miracle babies. But of course, the charges against him are very grave, considering that some of the evidence against him touch on a DNA testing of one of the children that he allegedly helped a couple sire back in 2004. That DNA testing showed that the child and the parents do not share the same DNA. So Yusuf, we're set for a showdown here at the High Courts this morning following this more than a decade-long battle to avoid these particular charges for Gilbert Deya, Yusuf.
Clearly, Timothy is facing very serious charges. Once again, for our viewers, Deya is facing 4 counts of rape, 1 of attempted rape, 2 of sexual assault, and 1 of battery. Those are very serious charges, as Timothy has outlined there. And Timothy, I'm sure so many people are wondering, where are these children right now? Does anyone know, their whereabouts, perhaps?
Well, you raise a very interesting question, because I believe that will perhaps be the hardest task for the prosecution in this case. Some of these children who Gilbert Deya is alleged to have abducted is, like I mentioned, it's a period of between 1999 to 2004. Some of these children are perhaps in their early teens or maybe moving on to their early 20s. So the big task for the prosecution will have to track down these children, try and bring them to court, but most importantly, not only track down the children, but also trace the parents who may have complained that their children went missing. Most of these cases are believed to have been recorded at the Kenyatta National Hospital. And back then, the Kenyatta National Hospital vehemently denied that there was any scheme or any plot between Gilbert Deya and the midwives at the facility to try and steal or swap these children. So, as you have aptly put it, that answer perhaps could come from the prosecution. To be up to them to try and trace, first of all, these children who many years later, I believe more than 10 years now, about 13 years or so, have already grown up. But most importantly, also trying to trace the parents who claim that their children may have gone missing. Another headache for the prosecution will have to be trying to get the parents of the children in London, the parents who have alleged to have gotten miracle babies. And most of these parents were based from Gilbert Deya's church in Peckham, southeast London. A church that, according to its website, boasts of 34,000, a congregation of 34,000 people. So does the prosecution go to London, get those parents who are believed to have gotten these miracle babies, as well as try and get parents of those who say their children went missing, and also get the missing children themselves to try and testify against Deya? That is perhaps the nightmare for the prosecution, Yusuf.
Of course, that's a very interesting story, Timothy. Of course, we're going to link up with you once the controversial preacher appears in court. And seems he's not the only one who's controversial. His wife, as Timothy has already outlined, she was jailed back in the year 2014 for stealing a baby at Kenyatta National Hospital. That was in the year 2005, and she was sentenced to 3 years in prison by the then High Court Judge Msaga Mbogole. Of course, we're going to link up with Timothy as well as Wakesho, who is at the CID headquarters, where the controversial preacher is still being questioned. Now, back in studio, and where did we leave? About manifestos and how, both NASA and